Hey everybody, welcome back to the Against the Grain podcast. I'm Josh Holbrook here with Mike Irvin.
How's it going, everybody? Hope your holidays were great.
Well, we've been having some events go on that we kind of need to talk about because apparently we, as in Trump and the military, decided to go in and snatch, kidnap, whatever you want to call it, grab Nicolas Maduro and pull him out of power in Venezuela. Kind of unexpected, but he's been talking about it. So
Definitely unexpected. And I think kidnap is probably a good word to use.
yeah, it's crazy times, man, because it's a definite break away from the order of things. I mean, a lot of people that I listen to on global politics, geopolitics, Peter Zion, for one, has been predicting that the world is going to change rapidly and there's not much anybody can do to stop it. And what he means by that is like the order of things, basically the international rules-based order, I guess people call it, is coming to an end. Have you heard of Bretton Woods?
No.
Bretton Woods was basically a conference and an agreement that the United States kind of forced on the rest of the world after World War II. We were the only major power really left standing. And so we made this agreement with people that if they sided with us against the Soviet Union and actually basically would have to stand in front of us to fight the Soviet Union if it ever came to that, that we would open our markets to them and allow them to have free access into our markets. And that's pretty much what cut off tariffs and things like that, started world trade. We became like the world's policeman at that point and guaranteed free trade across the oceans and stuff like that. And that's the era that is really coming to an end now. And we're going back into an era, it seems like, that's more like the pre-World War II era where might makes right. I mean, I've heard lots of people say that's the era we're in now. Might makes right again. So if you're strong, you can just go do whatever you want. And that's de facto pretty much what happened in Venezuela.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll be the first to say it. This guy wasn't a good guy, but this does not send a good message to the rest of the world. Everybody's got to be thinking, when are they coming for me? And that's not the way I want my country to be perceived, honestly.
There's no doubt Maduro was not a good guy. I don't think he was a competent guy either, as I've done a little bit of digging on how he came to power. Just because I'm sure we have people out there that are not real familiar with the history of Venezuela and stuff like that. I took a look at kind of where their countries come from and the most recent history, starting in the 50s. I mean, we went in and helped, our American companies really helped get their oil industry started. It's from the 50s to the late 70s, we really had very good relations and they really depended on us heavily. In 1979 to 1994, the relations were kind of still pretty good, but there was starting to be some more internal conflicts, some corruption going on, and the leaders and some more different factions in Venezuela started to view us more as a hindrance than kind of taking advantage of their situation, even though they really wouldn't have been able to make their oil industry go very well without us. So, in 1992,
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the whole one of the big reasons we went in is because they stopped allowing us any kind of access to their oil, and I don't know, maybe some old school people see that as a slap in the face, but I mean, I don't know how we would react if somebody tried to tell us we couldn't, sell our oil to whoever we want, and it seems like a stupid thing to expect from another country, right?
Yeah, I know how we'd act. We'd call it an act of war, and we wouldn't tolerate it, not for 1 second.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's pretty clear. I mean, we just do what we want. When I say we, the United States does what it wants, and far be it for anybody to have the ability to stop us. And right now, there's no coalition of countries that look like they could anyway.
Right.
But in 92, there was I don't remember the guy's name. There was a president named Caldera who was in office. And Hugo Chavez, who was becoming popular with the poor at that time, tried to run a coup, and he got pardoned by Caldera, the president at the time. And then in 99, Hugo Chavez won the election. Hugo Chavez was a pure socialist communist type, and he brought in a socialist government, and the oil had been nationalized quite a bit before that. I didn't get the date on that, but the oil was nationalized, but they still allowed Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, I think it was ConocoPhillips, to have contracts and really run the oil industry, or at least profit off of it and gain a pretty significant percentage. But somewhere along the line in Hugo Chavez's regime, he just kicked them all out and fully nationalized. I think it was Chevron had a little bit of a wiggle room in that, because there was something that there were. Hugo Chavez had a relative, I believe, that was in with Chevron, so they had a little bit of wiggle room where they could still help a little bit, and that's why their oil industry was able to continue, frankly, because without help, they didn't have the expertise. What do you remember about Hugo Chavez from? That was right when we were, young adults, and I just remember people didn't like him, and
I mean, we were always taught that he was a hero, but I don't think I ever really knew his story growing up. But
yeah,
it's interesting.
Well, there's a couple of groups that he brought in to help run the state and be part of his power structure. One's called the Chavistas, and those are basically enforcers that are in the street who ride around on motorcycles, some of them, and enforce the will of the regime, basically. So they're like an extra governmental force. They're not part of the government at all, but they're really like just enforcers. And the other one was the colectivos, which is basically your communist cadres that would reinforce the ideas of socialism and communism on the people and just make sure that people were staying in line. So those folks still exist today, and they're still have a heavy hand in what's going on right now on the street in there. And then 2013 to 2026 was Nicolas Maduro. Do you know much about him? Because I found out some things that were kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, I know that he has denounced democracy in that country recently. He was elected in, and then someone beat him a couple times, and he just ignored it. So stayed in as president, right, without having won the election. I know he's got a lot of ties to drugs and a lot of shady countries. That's about the gist of what I know.
Yeah. What surprised me is that he has no real background in politics whatsoever. He was a former bus driver during the Hugo Chavez times, and the reason he was brought on was for his loyalty. He was just like a unburdened, completely sold out, totally loyal to Chavez type of a guy. And a bunch of the people that remain behind and are now kind of running things, like Delcy Rodriguez and her brother and a few other people, were widely expected to take over for Chavez when it started to become clear that he was sick. And he handpicked Maduro. And a lot of people around the world, including in Venezuela, were just shocked because this guy had no real political presence, history, and also widely isn't considered to be a very smart guy. And so it was just kind of a weird pick from a lot of people's perspectives. So that's
loyalty
just kind
will
of
get you a long way, I guess.
No doubt. That's just kind of the brief overview of the history of leadership and kind of how relations have deteriorated between our two countries, because we really used to be allies. And then with the advent of Hugo Chavez and socialism and communism, it was pretty much just done. And the country allied themselves at that point more with Russia, China, and Iran. And so in our hemisphere, they're clearly the one country that is totally against the United States regime and is considered and has been considered an enemy.
Yeah.
So it's fairly unique.
Well, and when I was looking into how it all went down, I saw how heavily outfitted they were by Iran and China. and Russia with their defense weapons, which was kind of concerning because I didn't realize that until now.
Yeah.
And I get it. If the United States is your enemy, you want to be able to protect yourself. But it brings up a lot of questions to me about how deep rooted are they with these communist countries and other shady allies.
Deep is
Yeah.
the simple answer. Very deep.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about what we know about how the kidnapping went down. I think it was Saturday morning we woke up to that news, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And from what I've learned about it, and I've absorbed a ton of content trying to figure out what exactly happened. The U.S. basically went in with the F-35s and took out all of the radar stations and surface-to-air missile installations. Those are Russian S-300s. It's the kind of stuff that's being used actively on the battlefield with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So those are some of the most high-tech anti-air systems that the Russians even have produced. So
yeah,
to go in and take those out seamlessly shows you that our military is quite advanced compared to the Russian stuff. And if we ever did have to have any kind of head-on confrontation.
Yeah, say what you will, but that was an impressive showing of really effective, efficient military force,
That part for sure. But I think there's an asterisk that I'm going to get to here in a second. So they had to fly into the largest, I believe it's the largest military base where Maduro was hiding out. And they had to do this so with Chinooks, which is our biggest helicopter, big, giant, double rotor, front and back, slow, but it can pick up tanks. It's super powerful. It's also a big target. They also had Blackhawks, which are another very large helicopter, several of those. They also had Viper helicopters, and they're called Little Birds. So that's some pretty heavy equipment, man. There was upwards of 15 helicopters that were involved in that. The thing about helicopters is that relative to jets, obviously, they're slow moving. And so that led me to go, okay, we took no shots from any anti-aircraft, like taking out the S-300s. That makes sense to me. Those are big. They're stationary. You're going to be able to get those if they start scanning the sky. Our radar can see where they are, and our planes are going to take them out. But, being a young goofball and playing video games, I know there's something that's called an IGLA-S, which is a Russian-made shoulder-fired anti-air platform, manpad. So it's kind of like our Javelins or our Stingers.
Yeah.
2004 is the -S version is when it came out, and it knocked out lots of our helicopters in Iraq and Afghanistan, and those Venezuela has tons of those, well documented. They have tons of those. So I'm thinking to myself, like, you got 15 helicopters hovering over the largest base for what had to be at least 10 minutes. I can't see the operation taking less than that.
Sure.
We don't have any timeline on it, but I'm just guessing. I mean, 10 minutes seems like a minimum to me.
Yeah.
Anybody who had one of those shoulder-fired platforms, those things have a range of 6 kilometers.
Wow.
So anybody on the base who had one of those should have been able to take a pot shot. And so as I was digging in a little bit, I found that there was a couple of reports that some of those were fired. And so it just makes me wonder, was there a deal cut? Either by Maduro himself or by Delcy Rodriguez and her brother to allow him to be taken? Because it just seems too clean to me.
Yeah, he seems really happy, thumbs up, when he's being escorted everywhere. So it's just, if that had happened to me, I'd be all disheveled and distraught probably. So something does definitely seem fishy about it.
Yeah, and so that's what gives me pause to say, oh, it was this amazing thing. I mean, I'm sure our military's great, man. I'm not dissing our military at all, but it just seems like it's too clean. I used to nerd out on like special forces books when I was a kid and read all those kind of things, and something always goes wrong.
Yeah,
Something.
that's a good point.
And we don't know necessarily. I did read something today that said there was some fire taken and nobody killed, but they said one casualty. So it makes me think that at least one of those IGLAs was at least fired on one of our planes, and maybe somebody was injured or something like that. But it just
And I mean,
seems like
honestly,
a
if
military
we
base.
did have if we did have casualties, they're going to try to hush it up as much as possible, right? Because
Right.
they don't want to seem like they put our guys in danger in any way, shape, or form. How many Venezuelans actually died? I saw a report it's like 24, maybe, and then some
Yeah.
Colombians
First
too that were
reports
part
are
of
around,
his security force.
yeah, Cubans, but the first reports are
Oh,
around 30. Today I saw it up to around 80. Um, and Maduro had Cuban special forces as part of his personal security because
okay.
he didn't trust some of the Venezuelans or something like that. So my understanding is that all of them got wiped. I mean, and I don't have any problem believing that at all. I mean, Delta Force versus Cuban special forces, it's a big, big mismatch.
Yeah.
Um, our, our operators are going to have top-notch equipment, and they're probably
Hmm.
not even going to see them coming, even if they know they're there.
Right.
But just something overall seems fishy to me
Yeah.
about the whole operation, and if Maduro knows that it's coming to an end pretty quickly, and just if kind of trying to put myself in his shoes, if he knows
Hmm.
it's going to be coming to an end real quick, he's been really public out there talking about "come and get me, you coward." He said some of that on stage at one of his rallies and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. But if he knows it's coming to an end, why wouldn't you cut a deal?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and it makes
so
me wonder
that's
too.
just
He's obviously not beloved by his people, so I don't know how well they'd fight for him. That was one thought I had. You know, but
no doubt.
something weird though, for sure. It's not. It's too clean, like you said.
Yeah, something about it just doesn't seem quite right. So I just have a feeling that somebody made a deal, either Maduro himself or the Rodriguez brother and sister, who I think they were one of the ones that were super shocked it wasn't one of them that was put in charge of Venezuela when Hugo Chavez passed away. I think those were the
Yeah,
folks that were the most shocked about it. There's some
I
other
get
power players in there too.
I get some Hillary Clinton
Go
vibes
ahead.
from her a little bit.
Oh,
Just
no doubt. I've heard
first
some
impression.
rumors. Yeah, I've heard some rumors that there's some people that her and her brother are seriously bad folks.
Yeah.
See here. A couple of others that are still in power there. You have George Rodriguez, who's the sibling of Delcy. He's the president of the National Assembly. You got Vladimir Padrino Lopez, Minister of Defense, is the top military officer, still in his position.
Vladimir,
Minister
huh?
of Interior, yeah, Minister of Interior and Justice of Peace is Diosdado Cabello, and then the son of Maduro is still around. So look, you go in, you lop off the head. People are calling it regime change, but has
Hmm.
anything really changed besides Maduro being gone?
Right.
Doesn't really look like it.
Well, and I did a lot of research. Everybody's saying, "Oh, the Venezuelans are dancing in the streets," but then you look and see it's only the people who have left Venezuela because of him. But they're scared. They don't want to show any kind of support one way or another. They probably get shot, And
Yeah,
I think it's a trying time for them right now. It's not
I
the
didn't know what to
liberation that
believe about the
everybody
dancing
sees.
in the street. Yeah, I got a lot to say about the dancing in the street because that one really kind of confused me too. Because with the regime still in power, basically the only thing that's changed is Maduro and his wife are gone. I got some
Hmm.
things to say about her later too, but
Okay.
the whole rest of the regime is still in place. The colectivos and the chavistas are still on the street. I mean, you can't really go out and make a big show of how happy you are with those folks running around. You're liable to get shot or imprisoned or beat or tortured or all of the above, you know?
Right.
So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me as far as the dance in the streets. Then it was widely reported today that anything that looked like it actually came from Venezuela, people dancing in the streets, was AI.
AI. Wow.
Yeah,
I saw a
AI
lot
can
of
do that.
people
And
in America though who are Venezuelan natives that are very happy,
oh
and
yeah,
but
oh
of
yeah,
course
all around the
they don't
world
have to show their face
because
there. But yeah.
right there's a wide diaspora of Venezuelans. 9 million at least have fled the country just since Maduro has been in power. And so,
Hmm.
yes, in Florida, in DC, in New York, I know there was a
New
bunch of
York.
celebrations by Venezuelans. Of course, the people that fled the country are going to be happy about that. They fled because of him. I know
Hmm.
there's a bunch in Europe as well. But on the topic of celebrations, um, there was a country called Iraq that we invaded, and we toppled the dictator and imprisoned and then
Well, he
hung.
even
And
looks like
when
Saddam,
we,
doesn't he?
yeah, when we toppled that country, remember when they pulled the statue down?
Hmm.
Yeah, people jumping on it, slapping the statue's head as it goes through the streets, kids slapping the heads, all that. How
Hmm.
easy was our war after that? Not
Pretty
really all
simple.
that easy. It was tough, man.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, we stayed for way too long. Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't make it easier. Toppling Saddam didn't just change it. It wasn't over in a day. Things got way,
Right.
way worse after that.
They didn't want to be like
So
us.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that toppling Maduro is gonna be the thing that changes that country into, hey, we love America now. It doesn't seem like that's gonna be the case.
Right.
The other thing is, think about it like this: if somebody came in and snatched Donald Trump, would there be
Yeah.
Americans dancing in the street? Yeah, there would be somewhere. There's a lot of people who don't
Probably.
like him.
That's a good point.
You know, so I mean, the dancing in the street thing is kind of inconsequential to me. It just
Sure.
doesn't sell me on the fact that like we've done our job and now it's over and we're gonna just
Yeah.
move on. Everything's gonna be
Yeah. I mean,
awesome from
half
here.
of our
So
country would be celebrating. Sure.
yeah, almost fully half, if not half, maybe more.
Hmm.
Um, so there's that part. The other part is, you know, we're supposed to have a constitution that says what the president can and can't do. I know this is not the first time that a president has done something that they're not supposed to do, that they're not authorized by the Constitution to do, but like, isn't it supposed to be the Democrats who just flout the Constitution and do whatever they want?
Yeah, that's a good point. Can't just
Yeah. So
be hypocritical about it.
yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know what happens after this, and that's going to be a problem. And what happens if um, in 2028 we have a Democrat that just doesn't happen to like, one of our actual allies that have been on the side who are all cheering this? Like, was it Bukele in El Salvador who cleaned up that country, cut the murder rate by almost 90% or something like that, and he's
Hmm.
talking about how great this is. Well, what if a Democrat gets in office and doesn't like you, dude? Can they just come
Yeah.
down there and grab you? It's just a bad precedent. And, you know, post kidnapping, Trump's been saying a lot of stuff. It's been odd, man. Just, we're going to run this country until such a time that there can be a clean transition, he said. It's
Yeah.
like, run it how? From carriers in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
It's
question about
not a good look.
boots on the ground. You're not a good look
Yeah.
at all. You got
He
you got
said,
to
"Yeah,
ask the question about
we already
boots on
had
the.
boots on the ground." Yeah.
No, we had boots on the ground. Um, but then also he says this, the lady Machado who won the Nobel Peace Prize. Somebody asked him if he was going to like endorse her, and he's like, "Yeah, she doesn't have the backing of the people on the ground there. She doesn't have the backing of the military, so no." And so basically, he's kind of ceding to the idea that this Delcy Rodriguez lady can be in charge, but he's also throwing shots across her bow, like,
Hmm.
stay in line or you'll be next type of thing.
Yeah, I saw at first that she was outraged and that he should still be in power, and then she talked to Trump and kind of changed her tune a little bit, which I don't think that's a good thing. She's bullying her into saying something she don't want to say, or maybe she realized
basically
that, hey, this is something that's positive for me. But I think it's probably the other way around.
It was almost like, do what we say or you're next. It's kind of the impression that I got.
Yeah, and I mean, isn't that the kind of leader that we hate in this country, that we fought against time after time? I mean, I don't want to be known as that
Seems
guy.
pretty totalitarian to me.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other things that bother me about the whole thing. What were the reasons that they gave for this? They've been talking about
I just thought it was crazy.
drugs.
It came out and just said oil immediately. I was like, wow, okay. Not even trying to hide it,
Yeah. They said drugs, and they've been talking about drugs, and they've been bombing boats, and this is what their rhetoric was about for quite a while now. There was some cartel that they said Maduro ran, something of the Suns. I don't remember even what it was called, but now that he's in custody, they basically came out and said, yeah, it doesn't exist. that this was something that was made up the entire time. It's not something that is a cartel that he runs. But let's just stay on drugs for a minute. If that was the actual pretext and that was the reason that they went in, when I looked up the statistics, Venezuela, as far as illicit drugs coming to the United States, where do you think they rank in the top 10? Because they are in the top 10. Where do you think they rank?
Top 10? 8th.
9th.
Okay.
9th.
There's
a bunch of other countries.
When he started saying Venezuela is like the kingpin of the South American drug scheme, that didn't sound right to me at all. It's never what I've been taught. But
no, the cocaine is produced clearly in Colombia and Bolivia, are the top two countries. Then Peru's the third in cocaine. So Venezuela is not even in the top at all there. The one area that Venezuela does participate in the drug trade at all is a little bit of transit. They do ship some things for the drug dealers once the stuff has been processed into actual refined coke. But I mean, it just is not. When you're talking about
what happened to fentanyl, wasn't that the big thing? Now we're switching over to cocaine.
It should be the big thing. Fentanyl kills way more people.
No,
as we kind of talked about last time.
Yeah, but why did we switch the focus of the conversation? Because there was no evidence.
Well, it's called manufacturing consent.
Through there.
Yeah, it's called manufacturing consent. You just say what you think people want to hear that gives you the justification to pull off what you want to pull off. Right. It's funny, man. We're saying all this kind of stuff and kind of criticizing here, and people will say, well, are you fans of Maduro? You support Maduro? It's like, it's not even
we're
in the
fans
realm of,
fentanyl,
what we're talking about here.
We love fentanyl. We want it to get over here. People are just so
Flip
stupid
that.
Narrow-minded, I'm obviously kidding for those that will take that out of context. Jeez.
So where does fentanyl come from? Like we talked about last time, it comes from Mexico via China. Right. And the drugs, when people do overdose and die, it's cocaine and methamphetamine mostly laced with fentanyl. So it's the fentanyl that does the killing of people, not those other drugs, as horrible as they are.
Yeah, it slows your heart, right?
Well,
but okay,
fentanyl's just deadly.
I did want to ask about these charges were brought by the Obama administration, right? Or no, sorry, the Biden administration back in 2020, correct?
Which specific charges?
These same charges, they were brought that long ago, right? Back 5 years ago. And Biden put out
Are you talking about what they are actually charging him with in the court of law right now?
I don't think exactly, but the plan was put into motion back in 2020, correct? To try
I'm not sure. I think Biden might have put out
justice.
Biden might have put out the international reward for Maduro being
25 million.
Yeah, something like that. But what they're charging him with in the state of New York, which is just odd to me, very curious, is drug charges and then weapons charges like possessing machine guns. And it's just like, How does that even make sense to charge a leader of another country in a state court?
Yeah, and doesn't
What
Trump have
jurisdiction
an
do we have?
AR-15 at his house? I'm sure. I mean, I
I
know
don't
it's
know,
like
but
I just saw one of the charges was, conspiracy to use said weapons against America or something. I just don't know how that's
yeah.
based in reality.
Yeah, so what happens if you lose the prosecution against Maduro in court?
Hmm.
What happens then?
You got to set him
So you
free,
just
and I
where do you
doubt
set them
Trump would
free
do
to?
that.
On the streets?
Hmm.
Yeah. And then that's another
It's
whole list of judicial problems that you get into.
Yeah, it'll get ugly if he doesn't get held accountable in court. I think Trump will do what he wants to do either way, which will make him look even worse.
Lead to another whole bunch of problems.
So I'll bet you a lot
But
that he does get convicted.
can Trump force that kind of thing? And the judge is like a 90-year-old judge who was appointed by Obama and has ruled against
Yeah,
Trump a couple of times. There's a couple of things that
just saying, I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't want to sound like I'm in favor of what happened. I also don't want to sound like it's the worst thing in the world that ever happened. Maduro, again, wasn't a great guy, but there is a difference between regime change actions that have happened in the Middle East, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, all those kind of things, and what's happening in Venezuela. The big difference is that there's not sectarian opposing religious groups ready to have a civil war within the country. I mean, you just don't have that. Venezuela is fairly united. All of them are pretty much one nationality, and all of them pretty much Catholic. So you don't have that potential to deteriorate into sectarian violence like you do in some of those other countries. So there's one thing that's a little bit of a positive. So
So
hopefully,
how much actual narco terrorism is going on in Venezuela?
that's a made up word.
Well, yeah, I know.
That
I'm just saying it's very
I
prevalent
don't even know
in
what you mean by
Mexico
that.
and other countries. I mean, that's what they keep saying is they focus their attacks on narco terrorist organizations and their hideouts. And I just don't know
Yeah,
if
I mean,
that's based in fact at all.
if we're gonna give a definition to narcoterrorism, we're basically talking about cartel action, right?
Sure.
So as compared to Mexico, near zero. Again, the way that Venezuela participated in the drug trade was transitory. Like they ship stuff out, and the stuff that ships from Venezuela doesn't go to the United States. Almost everything, almost 100% of the drugs that go to the United States come in through Mexico because they have their established routes and tunnels and methods, and no matter what we do, we can't stop all of it. I mean, I guess we could, but it always
And
seems to get in.
how is Maduro connected to the drug trafficking? Do we know?
No, and my understanding is that he was actually actively fighting against a lot of the folks that were doing some of that transit activity. Um, he made it pretty hard on those folks, and a lot of those people really didn't like him, is my understanding of the situation. And so it's a kind of an admission of sorts, like we talked about with I don't remember the official name of it, but it was like the Cartel of the Suns or something like that is how it translates, that the United States was claiming that Maduro was the head of. Again, they came out and said today basically that was just not true. That organization doesn't exist. So I found that pretty hilarious. They admitted that was just all pure bullshit.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm with you. I don't want to say that it's all in all a bad thing, because this guy obviously was not beloved by his people. But to see our government behave in a way that would draw the ire of the rest of the world is concerning to me. And I don't know how the rest of the world
Yeah.
could take it any differently than that. They have to be concerned, and they have to be on edge to see us just do that willy-nilly with no repercussions.
No doubt. and might makes right is what is happening here. I mean, this isn't, look, I don't have a lot of respect for international law, okay? There's not a lot of enforcement mechanism behind that. So when people talk about international law, they're basically just whining and complaining. But it is against our Constitution what was done. And it leads to this idea that, okay, so really the drugs do come from Mexico. What's going to stop Trump from deciding that Mexico's next? And then his open rhetoric in the last couple of days has been about Greenland. We need Greenland for national security purposes, is what he said. There's, again, kind of paraphrasing Trump quotes here, but he's saying that there's Russian and Chinese vessels up and down the coast of Greenland, and we can't have that, so we need Greenland for national security. And in reality, if we decide to take it, what's Denmark going to do? Nothing.
Yeah.
So if he wants to take it, you'll have a bunch of complaining. You'll have a bunch of people calling him a totalitarian fascist. And how's that different than what they're saying now?
Yeah.
So
starts with a whisper and ends with a scream, right?
Well, it would mean the end of NATO, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, because I think that's a relic of history that needs to go by the wayside. Personally, that's how I feel about NATO. We shouldn't be pumping so much money into NATO. They need to take care of themselves. The Europeans have shirked responsibility for far too long. They've eliminated their militaries and just decided that they're going to wait on the U.S. to help them if anything ever happens, and that's just not reality anymore. The American people don't want any part of it. So,
well, and I mean, we can't get rid of the ability for the rest of the world to hold you accountable for these types of actions. Maybe the UN's not the most efficient or smartest way to do that, but you have to be held accountable for your actions, especially when they're aggressive against the rest of the world. I think it really is a bigger deal than a lot of people are realizing.
Well, people lean on the UN when it suits them, and when it doesn't, they just completely flout and ignore the UN. I mean,
right.
Israel has hundreds of resolutions that the UN passed against them. They don't pay attention to any of it. And so when we want the world's approval for things, we go get a coalition of the willing and get a bunch of stuff passed at the UN to help us invade Iraq. It's just kind of a convenient, like, see, we're justified. The UN is with us. But it's just kind of laughable. Like, the UN's pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, about a week ago, I would have laughed off the Greenland thing with Trump, but I don't think I can anymore. I mean, what's stopping him? If he decides that's what he wants to do, what's going to stop him?
Yeah, didn't he joke about this a year or so ago about you're going to be the next state,
I don't think he joked. I think he floated it, but I don't think it was a joke. Yeah, Canada is who he's poking about being the 51st state. And that, I think he was really just giving them a bunch of crap.
He said kind of the same thing to Greenland, though, didn't he?
Well, he said he's floated the idea that we should just take it. And now he's like out and out saying it. This is what he's been saying the last couple of days is more than just floating it. This is more of a like, hey, I'm considering doing this, is what it sounds like to me. I mean, how do you think do you think Congress would blow a gasket? What do you think they would do if he went and pulled military action to try to take Greenland?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly couldn't care less what Congress does at this point, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that would cause some craziness, especially after he didn't get permission to do it to Venezuela.
Yeah, Congress kind of sucks. I get that. But I mean, at what point does our Constitution not even matter anymore? Or does it at this point? Have we reached that point where it doesn't matter? That
I mean,
worries the heck out
the
of me.
yeah, it worries me too. And the only argument against that would be that it's only used for ineffectual garbage now, anyways. But yeah, we have to protect it and we have to abide by it. And um, it's going to be a big old shitstorm if he tries to take over Greenland for sure, and deservedly so.
Yeah, again, I just can't rule it out in my mind now. I mean, I just can't see any reason why, if he decided that he wanted to do it, why it wouldn't just get done. I mean, the military is not going to disobey orders. Did you see? I mean, people are talking about the Monroe Doctrine, and Trump fielded a question about that, and he said it's the Donroe Doctrine now.
God, what an
The
idiot!
Donroe. Yeah.
I just can't even watch him speak, man. It just really makes me want to throw up a little bit.
Yeah.
I still voted for him, and I would vote for him again. Okay, but man, I've
It's
just
such a
never
weird
seen.
position to be in.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone in his position act like such a child, and just the smugness is just too much for me.
Yeah, and what I mean by a weird position to be in is you and I are, I think, representative of a middle ground of folks who wasn't sure they wanted to vote for Trump, and then did, but we're not the sycophants who just sign off on everything he does because it's Trump. And a lot of people are in that boat where they feel like they voted for the least bad option at the time, and now he's doing crazy stuff. And it's like, let's see here. On one hand, we have a lady who would have done all the rest of the crazy stuff, got us into more fraud, continued to push the trans thing, you know. And then on the other hand, you have Trump, who's doing all this wild stuff. I mean, at least with
Yeah.
Trump and the HHS. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, at least with Trump, we carry a sense of power. I feel like we came dangerously close to being a laughing stock. Well, we were with the Biden administration in office, just not doing anything to solidify our place as a world leader. And now Trump's taken it too far, but I'd rather have that than just constant show of weakness.
Yeah, I'd rather have that than a guy who can't even make sentences, who wanders off stage mid-speech, who wanders off from his group of world leaders, who's doing a photo op, a guy who on the debate stage says we beat Medicare. The guy, I mean, did you see the one where it looked like he pooped on himself on stage?
Yes, his face. Oh my
I mean,
God.
just there's, yeah, and then his wife like hustles him off, like, oh Lord. It's just terrible, man. I can't even believe that the media
Shame
ran
on
with
her,
that.
man.
The whole sharp as a
Shame on all of them. They just
yeah.
made a puppet out of him.
The sharp as attack narrative, Biden is sharp as attack. This is the best Joe Biden. I think Joe Scarborough from Morning Joe said this is the best Joe Biden we've ever seen at one point. And then after the debate, he was like, this can't continue.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of people like you and me that saw all of this, right? And I know you like me. I watched both sides and kind of got an idea of how ludicrous both sides are, because you can't tell me that the people on these, the people that were the heads of these left-leaning networks didn't know how non-compass menace he was, because all you had to do was look at the other side every day. And I mean, the fact that maybe they didn't is just so telling. They're just so out of touch, you know?
Yeah. He didn't get in front of Mike for months on end when Trump was doing tours and stadiums and speaking for 2 hours straight. And it just is not a comparable thing on who is actually functional and competent. With that being said, it's still extremely frustrating to see where we're at.
I agree. Sorry, I didn't mean to get too far away from that, because that's definitely the topic at hand. and it is concerning.
Yeah. There's a couple areas that are bright spots. We've again touched on HHS, but the news came out today or yesterday that the Trump administration has reduced the mandatory vaccine schedule from 72 to 11. That's a
Wow.
good thing. And it's not
Yeah.
making it illegal. People can still get them if they so choose. But I mean, that's freedom. You should have choice. And it shouldn't be mandated. As a part of that announcement, one of the things that Trump said that they want to do is push the hepatitis A and B vaccine to age 12 instead of at birth. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Being that it's sexually transmitted and intravenous drug use transmitted only. Nobody
Right.
below 12 is doing any of that. And then they said to space out the MMR and make them individual shots and not one shot with 3 vaccines in one. And there's just a couple of things around that I think are really great. Those things with HHS and Bobby Kennedy are bright spots for me in the Trump administration. I'm sure there's people that disagree with me on that. But I like it.
It kills me that you could actually disagree with that, but people can think whatever they want. But that's definitely a shining point, in my opinion, anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. People are gonna think what they want. Hey, back down to Venezuela real quick. There's another little thing that happened the day after Maduro got taken out. There was 16 tankers that are sanctioned oil tankers that they said they had in port for a while because we've been blockading. And that day after he was gone, they disappeared from port. And so they're trying to run the blockade right now and just overwhelm it. And so they're trying to get out. And those tankers are how they get their oil to illicit places and how they ship oil all over the place. So that's another little factor that's going on that our Navy's going to have to be occupied with. But I thought that was pretty interesting that they took the initiative from Maduro being captured to send those all out and go after it.
And Russia too, didn't they have a tanker that was coming back to them from Venezuela that we captured? And they're not very happy about that.
We took 2 of them, and then there were several others that, well, some had Russian flags, and some had Guyana flags, and some had Cape Island or something like that flags, and like I was listening to a guy talk about that today, and he was talking about how those different flags of those different countries are very telling of illicit movements of goods that shouldn't be moving around. And another thing that I forgot to mention earlier when we were talking about celebrations, I was listening to the Trigonometry podcast today. You ever listen to those guys, Francis Foster and Konstantin Kisin, the British fellows? They're really good. I like listening to them. I don't always agree with them, of course, but Francis apparently has family in Venezuela, a bunch of it. And he was talking to them about what's going on in the streets. And he was like, no, there's a curfew. Nobody in the cities is going outside. Everybody is doing their little stuff before noon, and they're going home. And if you're caught on the streets, the Chavistas might kill you. And that's where it's at today. And so Donald Trump saying we're going to run this country, there's no evidence of that at this point. I know he's been making threats against Delcy Rodriguez and that kind of stuff, but the regime is in place at this point.
Right. And I think that's what my concern about, having a war that lasted as long as the Iraqi war did, or, the Afghanistan war did. If they try to do that, it's going to take a while for them to gain a foothold, regardless of who the opposition is. It's just the way these things go, right? So that's more resources that we'd be spending.
Yeah, I don't see a way that we can force the Venezuelan regime to change to something that we approve of. It's the only leverage we have at this point is, again, telling the current president now on the ground, Delcy Rodriguez, that if you don't do what we want, the same thing's going to happen to you or worse. We're going to drop a 2,000 pounder on you, like that's really our only leverage. Is that leverage enough? Maybe. But
I don't know if Trump's that he range to drop a bomb, but I could just as easily see something like Iraq happening again, and kids are going to
Yeah,
get sent over,
we
and
talked earlier.
it's not going to be good.
We talked earlier about them not being as much of a chance for sectarian violence as the stuff in the Middle East, but there's some. There's guerrilla groups that are in the mountains between Colombia and Venezuela. I think it's the ELN or something like that, guerrilla rebels or something like that they've been fighting against both the Colombian and the Venezuelan government for a long, long time. They're kind of politically, I can't call them really right or left, but they're kind of just a criminal organization that's out there and heavily armed. And you may, with some of the disorganization that's happening in the cities, you may see them start to try to exert some power in the outlying areas, and that could be something that takes a turn for the worse. There's a lot of unknowns at this point, and again, to reiterate, just lopping off the head of the regime doesn't seem like it's guaranteed anything to be better in the country.
Right. Because historically,
Maduro's wife.
That's not the way it happens. It's somebody doesn't just take over and everything's
Right.
hunky dory.
Maduro's wife. I was hearing also that was again from the Trigonometry podcast. Francis Foster was saying that Maduro's wife is widely considered to be the brains of the operation when it comes to that husband-wife tandem, and that she was super harsh, and she was more on the side of like torturing and really treating harshly anybody who was seen as a enemy of the state at that point. So I don't know how much truth there is to that. It's one source, one guy, but I mean, it is somebody who has family there on the ground, and so that's more information than we have at our fingertips.
Sure.
What other thoughts did you have on?
Do you have details on the people who beat him in the elections and what subsequently happened to them? I didn't get too far into it. I just know that they were exiled. And
I don't know of those details, but the scuttlebutt basically is that the last two elections, Maduro lost, and he just shrugged his shoulders and persecuted those people and got rid of them basically, or they chased people into hiding. I know this Maria Machado lady was in hiding in Venezuela until recently, until we kind of came in and swooped her out of there. The lady who won the Nobel Peace Prize. It's funny though, you made me think of something else. There's some people that are out there talking about the 2020 election again, because Venezuela has been implicated by Trump and conservatives who say the election was stolen for a long, long time.
Yeah.
We still have no evidence of that. I mean, I'm a conservative person. So are you. If there was evidence to be had to say that that's what happened, look, man, I'm fully willing to investigate it. I was so willing to look at it that I fully watched the big news conference and presentation done by what's the My Pillow guy? Mike something or other. What's his name? Anyway, he had the presentation that came out about the 2020 election a few months afterwards, and it was supposed to be this big old proof thing. I watched the full 2 hours of that stuff, and it was the most moronic thing I've ever seen in my life. There was nothing there that was evidence at all.
Oh my gosh.
It was insane.
What's the guy's name? The Indian guy who does all the really bad conservative movies. You know what I'm talking about?
Who, Dinesh D'Souza?
Yeah, I think so. That's how I feel watching that stuff. It's just like, this is the cheesiest thing I've ever seen in my life,
Yeah. And he's another one that drives me crazy, man. He, I saw it was messing around on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it. And I saw that he tweeted at Dave Smith and he was talking about these celebrations and this is what we're for. It's like, oh, brother, somebody's going to celebrate when stuff like this happens. It doesn't mean much, and then again, what comes next? What is coming afterwards? That's what we should be concerned with. And your little, it's like when the second Iraq War happened and President Bush put up the mission accomplished banner. a lot happened after
Yeah.
that was really, really bad for the United States. So
Yeah, just a bunch of young men's lives ruined and nothing accomplished, really.
lives lost, lives ruined, limbs maimed, and
Hmm.
just terrible stuff. And so that's very equivalent to me. Citing those celebrations is very much like hanging a mission accomplished banner when not much has been accomplished.
Yeah.
So what
Well,
else?
it
What do we
does
miss
hold a
on this?
little bit of ground when, the people that left that country are dancing in the streets, but to frame it like people in Venezuela are dancing in the streets, I mean, that's just it's not factual.
I think there would be some celebration if they weren't scared to death.
Exactly.
And if you had organizations like the Chavistas and the Colectivos out there on the streets, at best clubbing people for that kind of thing, and at worst shooting people for that kind of thing. I mean, yeah, you could celebrate if you had any level of freedom at all. They don't.
Right. I sent you
That's the big
something
question.
that made me laugh. That the prime minister was talking about how Britain needed to be more like Trump, but it was back in October. I fact check it, and they just resurfaced it to use it now, like they support Trump in doing this. It's interesting. Always got to fact check your stuff,
Yeah,
people.
Keir Starmer. Yeah, he's a interesting and not very straightforward or honest type of guy. He's a weirdo. So what's next? Mexico? Greenland? Who knows? But it just seems like we've entered that area again where instead of an international rules-based order, we're looking at might makes right, and that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Because
will not support that.
What happens when China just says, "Oh, you can do that? Well, we're taking Taiwan then."
Exactly. And how do we respond? Well, you can't do it, but we can. No.
Well, that's with the Trump administration. I guarantee you that's how we'd respond. And that's a battle that'd be really tough. It's right off their coastline, and it would take us some time to get there. Even if we saw the buildup coming, it would take us some time to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like the implications.
Be costly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know there's a lot going to happen, a lot going to change.
Yeah, hopefully cooler heads in Trump's cabinet will stop that from happening. But we'll see.
Yeah. I don't think those cool heads have much of a voice. I mean, it's hard to say. Rubio is super war hawk when it comes to Cuba and Venezuela, always has been. I mean, there's another one. Is Cuba next? I know that Cuba and Venezuela were really highly connected as far as the support for the regime that Cuba received from Venezuela and oil money and oil deliveries. And with that cut off, what happens there?
Mm-hmm.
And, little tease maybe of what's to come on the Against the Grain podcast, but I've been seeing a lot of stuff happening coming out of Iran recently. Trump had a statement last week that really kind of made me go, whoa. And he said, if Iran kills protesters, we're coming. And I was like, come on, man. What are you talking about? Like,
yeah,
we can't just go diving in head first.
Killing protesters for years now.
Yeah. Let's not talk about the couple of hundred journalists that have been killed during the whole Gaza thing. But
yeah,
Iran is a very interesting one because it's very much not like the rest of the Arab countries and the Islamic countries over there. They have a super long tradition of being a fairly free people. Before the Ayatollahs came in, and Khomeini is very, very old. He's in his 80s. He does have a son behind him, but I mean, there's protests going on there for sure, and they're being suppressed violently, and it's really not stopping the protests. Mm-hmm. So that's one to really start paying attention to. And I mean, I don't want us to be involved. I'm hoping that the Iranian people are able to do something on their own. That'd be great because an Iran that was free and a much better member of the world community would be a weight off the shoulders of our military and us needing to do something over there. And hopefully Israel will keep their nose out of it too, but I doubt it.
I heard Israel's shopping around a PowerPoint presentation about rebuilding Gaza up to a really nice community or something. They're offering spots for all kinds of people. It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah. Well, we can touch on some of these things, but let's not get too far down the path. But one of the things I heard about Israel and Palestinians is they recognized Somaliland as being independent. That is the most northwestern chunk of Somalia, and they recognize it as an independent nation in exchange for building a base right on the coast of the Red Sea there for Israel. And so they have that now going in. They also gave Somaliland a bunch of money, and they have a proposal with them to deport a bunch of the Palestinians down there.
Wow.
That will not be well received in the world community, but who's going to stop them?
Yeah, and when they first came out and said that Israel was behind the whole Somali daycare fraud thing, I kind of laughed, but you never know these days. Nothing surprises
well, those
me.
people.
Speaking of which,
the people that say
Tim
those kind of
Walz
things,
stepped down. Yeah, right.
He's not going to run again. He didn't actually step down, but he's not going to run again, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Get your fraudulent ass out of here.
I just hope
no place for you.
I just hope they do California next and start exposing some of the fraud there. That's that the little iceberg thing where you see the little bit on top is Minnesota, and the huge gigantic chunk underneath, that's California, man.
Mm-hmm. New York too, I'm sure.
Where tax dollars go to die. It's those states.
Any big city, really. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of that in Houston and Austin and Dallas too.
Yeah, the first place they need to look is the organizations that support homeless people. Those are just millions and millions and millions of dollars that go into people's pockets. So
been tons of that exposed in California too. Nothing done about it.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked a bit about all the different ramifications, all the things that were going on with the whole Venezuela thing, and I think there's a lot more to come. We're only a couple days removed from this. We're here on a Tuesday. It happened on Saturday.
I'm anxious to see how it all plays out. Hopefully it's going to be better than we think. I don't want to be too negative. I will say,
but again,
he did it the best way for our country that he could have. That's a positive thing. We didn't lose any soldiers. I mean, we probably did, but
old Don, he loves the deal, the art of the deal, and I really truly think that that's what happened. Is somebody cut a deal, be it Maduro himself or the Rodriguez brother and sister, Delcy and George. But it just doesn't. Again, too clean. Somebody cut a deal. That's my feeling, based on the circumstances with no real evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, man. Well, what do you think? Anything else you want to add?
No, I just I'm concerned. I really am. I knew Trump was a bully and that he was crazy, but just to do this with no regard for anyone else, for what implications it hold for the rest of the world, is just very shallow-minded and very dangerous, I think.
Yeah. And I think not only do we have to look at what's going to happen in Venezuela, but again, as we mentioned, Mexico, Cuba, Colombia, even Greenland, Iran, there's a lot going on. And in a world where the international rules-based order is no more and might makes right, there's no telling what's going to happen.
Yeah. And to the people that are celebrating this, that's going to be an easy sell. And it's a lot of people.
Yeah. I've had lots of people call me a liberal over the last couple of days. Somebody even said I should go join a No Kings protest because I don't really favor what's going on with the Venezuela thing.
Shouting
So,
your
it doesn't
lies
matter
from
what
your
you
throne.
Well, first of all, it's a very squeaky and old and uncomfortable office chair, not a throne. Okay. And second, we are taking the moment to express opinions about what's going on in the world. And the moment that you put out an opinion out there about what you think is going on with any issue of any relevance to world events, people are going to criticize from all angles. And since we started doing that volume has just increased. And so, like we talked about, don't look at comments. And
yeah, I mean, we attack both sides, so we're going to get it from both sides, whether we like it or not. And I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me. I'm going to tell you how I feel.
yeah,
Either way.
it doesn't bother me either. I just wish there was, there's the people that I respect have come at me respectfully. I'll just put it like that. There's some people that have pushed back on some of the things that we've said, and they've done so respectfully, and I very much appreciate that. The people that just accuse you of stuff, that's hilarious. Like the one comment, the 7K Club, implicating that we were somehow paid by the state of Israel $7,000 because we're being critical of certain things.
And that's not the first one of those we've gotten either. We had to look it up the first time to see what it even meant.
Yeah. So we've not been paid in any way, but
No.
if anybody wants to be a sponsor, great. Hit us up.
Come on, man. I can use it.
The one thing that won't happen is it won't change what we say. I can tell you that.
No.
So,
and
hey,
I would hope that some of you guys might actually listen and not just get emotional. We're trying to expose problems on both sides because we don't think it's right. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of that and pretty objective guy for the most part. So,
yeah, the throne comment was really funny because it came from somebody who I'm related to, and also the follow-up part of that comment was, "What are you doing to improve America?" Well, what we're doing is talking about the real issues that are going on in the world and giving our opinions. And as a common person, that's pretty much all you've got. You can influence your circle. You can influence people that listen to you. We happen to be doing so into a microphone at risk of people hating what we say. But so what? We're trying to be as honest as we can about what we think about the world and what's going on in it. And, people are not going to like it. And that's okay.
Yeah. Like I said, let us know if you disagree. You want to talk to us? We'd love to talk about it.
Yeah. Especially those folks that have our phone numbers. Use those. Social media sucks. It's not a great platform to conversate about these topics.
Yeah.
So
maybe say something you might regret later.
Yeah. All right. Me and my office chair / throne, we're about out of here. So anything else to wrap up, Mike?
I think that's it, man. I'm glad that corruption's being exposed in Minnesota, and I'm love to see where that goes. I'm hoping that the problems that we see from what we've done in Venezuela are coming to an end, and that it doesn't escalate further. I'm hopeful. So we'll see.
Yep. And no matter what happens or how bad things get in the world, Jesus is sitting at the right hand of the Father and is the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. And don't forget that.
Yes, he is. Praise God.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Please pass it to a friend, share, subscribe, comment. We appreciate it. Thanks for checking us out.
Yeah, even if you don't like it, let us know why. Let us know what we can do to make it better. I know we're not audio aficionados yet, but we're working on it.
We're getting better all the time. See, new mic.
Mm-hmm.
Without a boom.
Yeah. All right, guys. We appreciate you listening.
Have a good night.
See you next week.
Later on.